Going on, Scott?
Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm good, man. Just another beautiful day in Southern California.
Well, so stoked that you got the EP out and coming back, and want to get into all that. And you know, really, this EP kind of born out of the pandemic and
Yeah,
out of boredom during the pandemic. Did you have any visions of coming back before then, and the pandemic delayed things, or was it really just sitting around home bored during the pandemic that got the wheels turning?
that's what got the wheels turning. I think the band talked about a reunion maybe 5 or 6 years before that, but nothing ever materialized. And I wasn't really into doing it. I was, writing and producing others, and that's just where I was. So, but yeah, the pandemic, I think it changed a lot of things for a lot of us. Learning to cope with this, the new normal, as I said back then,
Yeah,
and getting to know your wife or your brother or your sister or your parents again.
I'm shocked that the pandemic actually gave you the time. I figured you would be busier than ever writing for everybody, everyone else sitting at home bored, and with you being such a songwriter producer, that would be filling up your schedule.
Yeah, it didn't happen right away because I think Zoom, if we all remember, was a brand new technology. And I remember people were starting to talk about it, through text, like, are you going to get on a Zoom right today? And I was like, what is that? And when I found out what it was, I was like, I'm not doing that. You can't write a song like that. And actually, you can. So it just takes practice, like anything, and you learn how to do it. And the artist is in Tennessee, and I'm here, or vice versa, or whatever it is. But yeah, you learn how to cope. You gotta keep moving on. So it took me a few months, but in that downtime, that's when everything started. Uh, Writing for the Exies again.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was a whole new ball of wax. You had to learn this Zoom thing, and
Yeah.
same for me. Had to learn how to do radio from home and try and figure all that out and everything. So it was
Sure, sure, man.
certainly a crazy time. And I'm curious with all this pandemic and everything, did it delay anything? Were you trying to shoot for that like exact like 20th anniversary or anything, and then it kind of fell a few years later, or
Well, I think you know, are you talking about for the X's? Was I trying to hit something?
yeah, like hit a specific anniversary of the album, like in oh 03, oh 04, something like that, or was it just kind of came out when it did?
It kind of came out when it did, and I feel like I was kind of lucky because it was the 20th anniversary of Inertia when Spirits High came out.
Right.
And so I kind of used that as, well, this is happening. And, like this year is the 20th anniversary of Ugly, which was our biggest radio song.
Sure.
And so that helped with the EP and to moving it. So I think I was kind of lucky in the 20-year anniversary department to hit it 2 years in a row. So that's part of it. So
Brilliant EP, man. Really digging the tunes. I mean, the songs on there for what it's worth. It sounds like a radio song to me, and a great catchy hit. What you would expect from the Exies.
oh, cool, man. Thank you so much. That was like I've given a few interviews where all these songs kind of started bubbling up together, and it would be I would just figure them out as time would let me, or as they wanted to be finished. Sometimes you start an idea and then you just have to walk away from it for a little while to see if it's actually got legs and it's working. And then just like anything that's creative, it just takes the whittling and the time to get it down, or the polishing like a diamond, to the point where sometimes a song can take days and sometimes it can take months. And in these cases, it took years for these songs to become finished because things did pick up out of the pandemic, and I did start getting really busy. And that was my job, quote unquote,
Right.
writing and producing. So those things just had to sit, and that was fine because I didn't ever think that these songs were going to come out ever. They
Oh
were
wow.
just done as something to do. It was kind of diary songs, hobby, um, something to kind of pass the time. And then my wife busted me she left to go on a walk, and I broke out the session. I was going to work on it. She was supposed to be gone for like 2 hours, and she came back right when I was working in the middle of it, and she was like, "What is that?" And I said, "Nothing," as I was like hiding something, like, what. It wasn't porn, I swear. No, but it was music porn, um, and I had to show it to her, and she loved it, and she said you should finish it, and so she was very encouraging that way, and so because of that, later on in the year, I did make my mind up to release it in 2023, and it did, and it came out, and that started everything. That started us. So that's why you and I are here today.
Yeah. Loving the new EP. I think my favorite tune on it is probably the title track and the last track, Closure.
Oh, cool, man. Nice. I'm glad you feel that one, man. What is it about that one that you like?
I think it's the vibe and certainly the lyrics, and that's the bummer in this day and age. You and I are old enough to go back to the days of cassettes, even if you want to, or CDs where you're pulling out and reading all the lyrics, and that
Yeah.
was one. It was cool to see the lyrics for what it's worth, but I was like, oh, I'd like to read the lyrics to Closure, and I think that that's an important topic. I mean, something that we all kind of strive for, no matter what it is in life. You want that closure. You want everything to kind of wrap back up again.
Yes, absolutely. And I do believe, I thought it was up on the Spotify page now, but if it's not, I know that Apple has the lyrics. So you
Ah,
can go there on, I think it's I can't remember what, when you click it, like it's something details or whatever it is, but it's there. Yeah, Closure was exactly that. It was when I finally hatched that lyric, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to call the EP, because I'm done. This is it. I'm finished. And I don't, this was a really interesting and amazing, like rebirth of discovering who I was 20 years ago and who the band was, and taking that journey and talking to the guys and whatnot. But this song just felt like, okay, yeah, that's it. That's like acceptance. If we're kind of paralleling it to like the 5 stages of grief, which I did. You have all these things when you lose somebody, or when something is when there's trauma. You have to go through these stages, and I feel like Closure was just that song that put the cherry on top and said, I hope, as John Lennon said, I hope, for myself and the band, that we passed the audition. Like after 20 years, I mean, I hope that this will suffice, and you can always go back and listen to the other records, and here's 6 more that we're meant to be born right now for whatever reason. I still can't figure out why, but they do sound like the band even from back then, and that was a great way to end it. And then everything started to happen, because Closure was written, I think, 2+ years ago.
oh wow.
And then people like yourself started to take notice in the other song when it got released, and things happened, and one thing led to another, and then we played a reunion show, and
Yeah.
and now we're all over, like Loudwire, and Pinfield is talking to me, and da da da. And it's like, well, maybe that's just the end of that chapter, and maybe now a door is opening, and we're going to have to walk through it. So no expectations, just following kind of what's happening, and it's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, today Loudwire put out top 30 best records of the year 2000, and it's our debut.
Nice.
So that's what I mean. Like, there's a convergence happening with us in the past, and bringing it to the future. So, dude, like, I couldn't be happier. I don't know what's going to happen, but things are in the works, and my management team is on it, and we're planning and trying to make things happen. So.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring up that show at the Viper Room a few weeks back, and looked like you guys were all having a great time. And imagine it was great to get up on stage. But be honest, were you sore as hell the next day? Were you using muscle parts and body parts that you hadn't used in a long time?
No, I really wasn't sore. I had been practicing right here in this room by
Sure.
myself. I hooked up a mic, and I dragged my triple rec and my cabinet out, and I put in my ear, and I have a full studio right here that you can't see, and and I just, I plugged myself into Pro Tools and I practiced to the songs, and I could hear myself. And so, and we practiced, I think maybe like 8 rehearsals, 9 rehearsals, not a lot of rehearsals, from October till May 28th, which was the day of the show. So it was a lot of everybody working on their own. And we hit it hard. And the only thing that was I had so much adrenaline
Yeah.
that I didn't even sleep until like 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I woke up at six
Oh,
o'clock in
wow.
the morning, and I stayed up the whole day. But it felt, look, it felt really good to play, and it felt like home. It felt natural. And there were some mistakes, but that's human, and
Yeah.
especially if you haven't played a show for 14 years like we hadn't. I don't think it could have gone off any better. There was people that couldn't get in. It was sold out. Everybody was singing every lyric. We played Spirits High for the first time. And we played a Stray, which was one of our biggest streaming songs, for the very first time. And it just couldn't have gone off any better with the fan appreciation and the connection, which is what it's all about, man, anyway.
Yeah. No, I just figured that adrenaline dump because you can practice all you want, but once you get up on stage, it's a whole nother animal.
Yes, my hands were shaking. If anybody wants to zoom into my hand would not stop shaking. I was just like, okay, I'm not really nervous, but the adrenaline was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going. And Freddie looked over at me, after the end of the show, and he goes, "Man, your hand was really shaking in the beginning." I was like, "Dude, I couldn't stop. I mean, what? I couldn't stop it." So at least I played the right chords.
Speaking of shows, I'm hoping that there are some more in the works. Going to do some more shows, maybe around SoCal, if not a full tour.
I mean, I would love to play more shows. We have to work out the politics of that. Everybody, look, you're dealing with a 20-year-old band here. Everybody has lives and other careers. Freddie plays bass in Everclear.
Sure. Yeah.
He's in Germany right now. That band is a touring machine. But if the schedules will break, and we need, look, I'll be straight up. We need a certain amount of finance to be able to go out and do shows.
Sure.
Touring costs money. I don't think any of us are like, sitting here going, we have to make money. I think we just want to try to make sure that we don't lose money, and that we can, and we can just go and see the fans and do the shows, and just have a good time, and have the reunion, the nostalgia part of it really become what it's all about. Making money's great and everything, but it's not the reason that I do music or the reason that we did the show.
Right.
It wasn't for money. It was just, let's do this together while we can, because one day you're too old and you can't do it. So yeah.
That's what the day job is for, is to make the money and execute for fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly where we're at. It cost money to play that show. We lost money playing that show, but nobody cares. It was very soul fulfilling, and I couldn't have asked for a better night. It was fantastic.
I was going to mention Freddie and the double duty that he's doing, and I think he's an IE guy. I think he's out by us, isn't he? The Riverside guy, or used to be.
Yeah, he used to be. He lives. I think he lives in North Hollywood.
Okay,
But yeah,
but
he grew up
from
in.
Riverside.
Yeah, he's from Riverside. He grew up there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we are, out in the Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino.
Oh, cool. We played a show one time, long time ago, in the Inland Empire. Man, it was amazing. I remember. I can't remember who we were playing with, but there was so many kids that came out, and I was just like, "This is
Indoor,
amazing."
outdoor. Do you remember?
It was indoor. It was indoor, and it was packed. And I remember looking at the guys going, we can't even get anything like this in LA at that time. Here we go. We just go outside, the city, and this is what happens. And most of our successful shows and whatnot were not based in California. It was everywhere else. We were very much a touring band.
Sure.
We did it for 12 years. We toured. We played every place but Hawaii and Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did every state.
Yeah, man, I was trying to think before we talked, like, because I've been in the market 20 plus years, was certainly around the first run of the X season. I was trying to think back if there was a Inland Empire show with you guys, but nothing coming to mind. But you definitely remember. Was it San Bernardino or Riverside? Do you remember?
You know what? If we had Freddie right here, he would remember because he
No.
remembers everything. You guys got a memory of an elephant, man. It's like he just I can't remember too much from those days for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just so scattered, but Chris Gain, who is our, who is our guitar player on Modern Way of Living with the Truth, and is with us now, he remembers every show as well from that era. So
Sure.
I don't know how they do it.
Speaking of Freddie and the double duty and Everclear and you being a songwriter, man, it got me to thinking, like, what would the magic that you and Art would make together if you were to sit down and do
I
a
would
song?
love to work with Art. We tried one time to sit down and do it, and there was some things that just stopped it from happening.
Yeah,
And you know what? Let's be honest. I mean, Art doesn't even, he's an amazing writer all on his own. Sure, it would be great to collab with him. I don't even know if he really wants to make a new record, like
yeah,
you'd have to ask him. He was at the show, and he loved it. He came and gave me a big hug and said it sounded amazing. And I said, thanks for lending me my old bass player. But yeah, he's great. Art took us on our very first real tour.
oh
He
wow,
believed in the band. He gave us, I think our first show was up in Portland, and we did Seattle, and we did a huge run with him all up and down the West Coast for weeks and weeks. And I think he wanted to produce our next record at one point.
oh wow,
And it just, again, those things, you're on tour, you don't know how it's going to pan out. Things you want, there's wish lists, there's things that you want to happen.
sure,
It doesn't mean it always will. So, but he's a great supporter, and I'm so glad that Freddie, when I decided to kind of say no more, I was so glad that Freddie got the gig, because
yeah.
he's perfect for it, man.
Yeah, he's great with the band. In transitioning to the songwriting and talking a little bit about that, certainly have a lot of young and up and coming bands listening to the show and wanted to talk a little songwriting with you. And
Sure.
I don't know, I feel like is there something in songwriting that's like a basic common thing like a secret or a purpose that people miss when writing songs? Is it that complicated to write a song, or is it really that simple to write a song?
Boy, that's a great question. And it is both. Sometimes it's simple, and sometimes it's hard as hell. I think that the number one thing is, if you're going to be a co-writer and you're not the one that's doing the song, you're not the artist. You have to be able to put yourself in the shoes of the person you're working with. So I would suggest to any songwriter that's listening, do your homework, listen to the songs, listen to the subject matter, check socials, like what are they talking about, what are they into, what are they responding to with other artists, and this and that, and just kind of keep notes, mental notes, or put them in your phone. Hopefully you get a few days to be able to prepare for something. Sometimes something last minute comes and you just got to wing it, and sometimes you get great things that way. But if you get a little chance, if you get a little time to prepare, you study. And I think the main thing is, sure, you need instruments and you need something to record, but the main thing you need is an open mind, and you need an open heart, and you have to be willing to part with lyrics. If you like a lyric and the artist isn't feeling it, you got to do a workaround. And if it's meant to come back to the idea that maybe you started with, it will. But you can't really force it. You're now a part of a collaboration, and that doesn't mean that you write all of it. So unless the artist is an artist that doesn't write and just wants to be the vehicle. And there are a lot of them out there. A lot of pop stars are that way. Elvis Presley was that way. He didn't write songs, but
Right.
he could make them unbelievable. And Tom Petty was a genius songwriter and an artist. And when people wanted him to write, they just wanted a Tom Petty song, kind of how it really went. So that's what I would say, is that more than even a guitar or anything, is just know who you're getting ready to work with, and just keep your heart open, and your head, the same way, and you'll do good. You'll be fine.
And does it all trace back to the Beatles?
It all does. All roads lead to the Beatles. They are everywhere in my studio. It's how I learned how to write songs. I bought a scores book, and it had tab in it.
Mhm.
I used to be able to read music when I was a trumpet player when I was a kid, but I couldn't do it on guitar. So I bought a book that had the tabs, and I just started learning Beatles songs. I know a few of them still. There was a time though when I knew like probably 70 of them.
Wow.
And it's what really helped me to learn to understand how certain melody notes go over certain chords, and why do we feel a certain way in songs when we listen to them. What is this moment that makes this happen? And a lot of it is just human heart, and just that it's an unexplainable thing. But then there are some things about the key, the chord, the lyric that's happening at that time too. And the Beatles talk about that always, the convergence of chord and melody and lyric all have to collide at the right time for you and I to enjoy any kind of music.
Yeah.
And you just gotta practice. You gotta become observant when those moments happen. That's why we have choruses. If every part was a chorus, there'd be no chorus.
Right.
So you have to have these down moments and then these up moments, and that's how all music is based off of. Even if it doesn't have anybody singing, you're listening to classical or whatever. There's beautiful, like look at John Williams from Star Wars, right? He has
Yeah.
these verses, and then it goes da da da. That's his chorus. And it makes us go on a journey. So that's another part I think is important. You got to create a journey for the listener. Keep it interesting, but don't make it complex where nobody gets it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can be proggy, like, a lot of the bands out there, but it still has to make musical sense.
And
So
and I think believability is a big important factor too.
it's huge. It really is. It is. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
That's the other part. Okay. If you can write truly from your own experience too, with whoever you're writing with or for yourself, it's going to be a better song. Just is. These songs that I just wrote are some of the most truthful. They might not be some of the best Exies songs. Some would say they are, but I know this: the lyric is probably the most honest, uh, group of tunes that I've consistency, between them of this time in my life, and maybe they are so honest because I never thought anybody would hear it. So
Interesting.
I just wrote for myself.
Interesting.
To
And
cope.
I'm curious too, man. When you write a song, do you know when it's a hit? Do you like, oh, that's for sure a hit, or are you just surprised when it is?
There's always a little bit of a that sounds like a hit. That never means a song is going to become a hit. I think it takes the audience to determine that. There's a certain amount of, yes, there are labels and funding and things to get it out there so that you can hear it. But once it gets out there, it's up to people.
Yeah.
Up to people, man. A lot of people can say, "Oh, it was a bought hit." I don't know. I mean, some things are paid for and they go away like that, but the things that really last, those songs are decided by the public.
Hmm.
And I've been lucky enough to have songs that have been going for 20 plus years. You know, it's crazy, man.
Your own, and then even songs you've written with other people, and want to
Yeah,
touch on a couple of those. Obviously, Hailstorm and the work you did with them, and Lizzie, what a powerhouse, man. What a
yeah, she is, man. She's a beast. She is a beast, man. We wrote together the first time we wrote together. I when she came in, I was like, whoa, she looks like a rock star, and she just had a swagger and a confidence, and she just looked at me and goes, well, you got any song ideas? And I knew. I was like, okay, well, I got this idea. It's called Miss the Misery. And all the lyrics aren't done yet. Like, you want to work on this? And I hit play on my space bar, and I had some drums, bass, and guitar, and I just kind of sat here and I just kind of went, it goes like this, and I kind of sang the little melody parts and things that I had. She's like, okay, let's go. And we worked on it, and that's their biggest song to date.
one of my favorites from them.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Crazy
great.
that it was that simple.
It wasn't as simple as that. I mean, I had worked on it before for days, but and prepping, like I said earlier, prepping and prepping and prepping. And so I was ready for her. But if she didn't like it, it would have been like, okay, from scratch, here we go. I got another title, or I got this or whatever. But luckily she did like it. And that cut got me a lot of work. I started working with a lot of bands, and I worked with Theory, and I worked with Shinedown, and I worked with Nothing More, and I worked with
Yeah.
otherwise. And I mean, I can't right now. It's I'm very humble about this, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was very grateful for that meeting with her, because those were early days when I branched off from the band and was starting to work. And I got a Theory cut right off the bat, and I got a Hailstorm cut, and that really helped me get out there. I got a David Cook cut from Idol. And then I worked with a bunch of those idols. Now Daughtry's a guy that I'm producing. I'm doing his record right now. And it's just amazing where this journey has taken me. And I'm very grateful to be working with the talented people that I am, because it's just like us talking right now. You and I are talking, sharing a moment, but if nobody else hears it or sees it, it's just that. So
Right.
the songs are just these, lyrics and notes in the air, but it's nothing until the public hears it. So I've been very lucky with people that are very motivated, and they want to get out there and they want to tour. And Lizzie's one of them. I mean, I think we've written like 30 songs together.
Wow. And cool to hear that you're working on the new Daughtry. I know you'd worked with him in the past, but he's really made like this transition into like hard rock now, which has been great.
Yeah, man. And that was a conscious conversation that he and I had when I wrote for him on the I think it was the Baptized record, or maybe I don't know. It was a song called Undefeated. I don't know how far back that goes. And that got he and I together for the very first time. And then we worked on, which was not this record or the last one, but the last RCA album. I got 4 cuts on that, no singles, but we had the best time working together on that. And when he finished his deal with RCA, it was July, right around the 4th, like this. And he called me and said, I really want to make the transition into rock. And I really loved writing with you, because you're like an artist, and you get it because you toured, and you know what it's like to want to throw your fist and sing a lyric, which I am. Ultimately, I'm just a fan, man. I am a
Yeah.
fan, and that's never gonna die. That's I love to go to a show and sing a song that I didn't have anything to do with. It's the best, because when you do have something to do with it, all you do is critique it. But and he said, let's start. And we started, and we wrote a song called Backbone. And it was kind of rock. It was stompy, clappy. And then we wrote a song called World on Fire. And that was the song that started it. And his piano player then followed that up and turned in a piano half demo idea with a vocal and just a piano. And it was called Heavy as the Crown.
Mhm.
And that song, when I heard it, I was like, that's a hit. Just got to finish it, and we worked on it and crafted it. And once we were done, I mean, it went to number 5. So it was Daughtry's first real foray back into the active rock world, which I think he had started there maybe 16 or 17 years ago when his first album came out, the one from Idol.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know for sure about that, but that started, and then producing that record really cemented our friendship, and it really got eyes on him. I remember I was with Lizzie Hale. We were going to dinner. She and I were working, and I said, I got to play this Daughtry song I just did. And I played Heavy as the Crown. And she's like, that's Chris Daughtry. It's a freaking killer. And she's like, wow, he's totally getting out of there. This is like believable. He's going into I was like, yeah, we're going there. And this is the record that we're really doing it on, because Artificial went number 1,
Yeah. Now
just put out
pieces.
Pieces is like number 7
Yeah.
right now. And we just released Nervous, which is doing great on the socials with DSPs. So we've got a banger coming that's, I think, going to be the biggest song on the record.
Really.
So I'm really excited. And he and I talk almost every day. And it's good to be a part of him. He's very motivated. He's got a very talented he's very talented, has a great voice, so it's a real pleasure to work with him.
Yeah, bringing it full circle, Lizzie and Daughtry got together for that Journey cover, right? Separate ways.
Yeah, and that was actually it right there too, because I remember we we cut those vocals, and because he called me, goes, "Do you think Lizzie would want to do a Journey song with me?" And I go, "I don't know, let me ask her." And so I texted her, and she's like, "It's my go-to karaoke song." And I was like, "Okay, so call Chris and let's make it happen." And we went to Nashville, tracked the vocals. I had, I was in LA here, and I put together the rough, and I remember when I showed it to Chris, he's like, "Is it too heavy? Is it too heavy? Are people going to believe it for me? Is it going to?" I was like, "Dude, it's going to be great. Just right now, it's just the demo. Like, let's get the vocals." And once we got the vocals, I brought it home, and I was supposed to go back and track the band. And what happened? We got a time crunch because it was the end of the year,
Right.
and it was like, we gotta go and finalize this thing. So I put out the 911 to the band members. I was like, "Jeremy, gotta go track your drums. Elvio, you gotta do your piano MIDI and send it to me." And everybody cut their parts and sent them to me. And then I played a little bit on that too, and put it all together. And it was a mad dash, and that's what you hear. But that really opened up the doors. It got him his deal with Big Machine. Now he's with Lizzie. I think it went like, top 5 again.
Yeah.
All those songs really helped pave the way for Artificial, which was that first real home run. And when we were done with that song, I go, "I think that's a number one." I'm not going to Babe Ruth it and call it, but like I'm kind of calling it. And
And
it
it
went.
was.
It was. Yeah. So
Dude, thank you so much for all the time. Last thing I got to hit you with, man. We're going to go old school, talking rock now. We're an old school radio station. We do a feature called Mandatory Metallica, which you're gonna
sure.
be a part of. I imagine you're a Metallica fan, learned those riffs
Yeah.
back in the day. You were
Sure.
old school thrasher Metallica fan?
Sure.
All right. So help me out with this little music debate I've been having with my buddy and I. We're debating their greatest thrash metal album ever and land on different sides of the fence. So I want to get your pick. Going back to their early days, Ride the Lightning versus Master of Puppets. If you had to pick one out of those two, which one would it be?
Kill them all.
Yeah, but there's so many covers on Kill 'Em All. It's kind of a covers album.
Yeah, but there's just such an electricity, man.
There
I
is.
mean, when it's a da da bow, da da bow, da da da. I mean, that's just so amazing, and it's Mustaine too.
Yeah.
So okay. I gotta probably look. I love Ride the Lightning. I mean, For Whom the Bell Tolls was one of those songs that just was like, wow. But all the way through it, I think it's got to be Master of Puppets, because it's just, there was
Perfect.
nothing like it, man. And the way the sonics of the guitars are, they're still not even Metallica can't do that. Like it just, there's a thing to it, man. It's Hetfield's right hand. It's those arrangements. That record is 100% magic from top to bottom.
I agree. It's perfection.
Very few records are like that. Back in Black is one of those records. Even
Yeah.
to me, Rumors is one of those records. Fleetwood Mac, I know that's a little light, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's a masterpiece. Nevermind is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, but yeah, so that's my pick. It's Master Puppets.
I agree, man. I think it's the full sonic spectrum when you can have like Orion and Welcome Home and then be brutally heavy with Master and Damage Inc. and Disposable Heroes and everything else.
Battery.
Battery. Yeah. Come on. The opener, dude. I mean, like
It's
the
like,
full gamut.
yeah, it's
And
amazing.
Right is great and there's great songs on, but I always just kind of didn't like the production on it. I always kind of felt like recorded in a bathroom.
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but sometimes those homespun things are great, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because the song has got to be good too. The public, look, we're always gonna like a great song if it sounds like, even if it sounds like shit. But if it's an amazing sounding song and the song is no good, who cares? Who cares? But listen to that snare drum. Snare drums don't make hits, they help, I mean, but it's like, you got to have the song right, man. So
Well, we don't have to talk about all of Lars Ulrich's snare drum sounds. Went back to Saint Anger or anything like
yeah. Doing.
that. Oh man, that trash can. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And well, they're trying things too, you
yep,
know.
yep. Well, now the hard part, you got to pick a song for us to play for you on Mandatory Metallica. What Metallica tune can we play for you?
Yeah, man. I guess just play Battery. I love that song. I just never forget the first time I heard it. I was just like, what? So I'll go. It's a little, probably, little, maybe that's a little generic, but let's just go with that.
I think generic would be Inner Sandman. Battery's an excellent choice.
Okay.
Beautiful,
Beautiful.
man. Thank you so much for the time and the music. And hopefully you do get a show somewhere around SoCal so I can make it out.
Dude, man, I hope so. We're working on it. It's got to be, we got to get the demand to where it's in the right spot. And I really want to try to couple it and play with some of the bands from our time, because
Yeah,
everybody's kind of having a resurgence right now.
totally.
I've been talking to Kevin over at a trust company, and like,
Yeah.
let's try to do a show, and then my friend, Zach, who's in the Nixons, and then, hey
Yeah.
John, let's get Seether to headline it and let's play, so like, just trying to figure out the smartest way to do it so that everybody doesn't have to spend a fortune to come and see it, and they get to enjoy it, because it literally is about that nostalgia. I
Yeah.
think we're lucky enough right now where some of this new stuff is kicking off pretty good for me right now, for the band. Streaming numbers are doing pretty good, and radios, we're going for radio here in a minute. So
Yeah.
I hope you play the single when it drops, man. I don't know if you're a part of that or not, or how this all works.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I've been playing for what it's worth, and then sneaking in Closure too, because that's my jam. But yeah, we'll keep up with the radio singles and pump it out, and hopefully that show gets booked or tour or whatever. But maybe if
Yeah,
nothing else, a SoCal kind of show of that, all those bands sometime. That'd be
yeah,
killer.
absolutely, man. Yeah, and look, if you're allowed to be a little bit rogue, play what you want from us, man, because people like you that take a chance and play something, like, sometimes that sparks the song. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, I got to be honest too, like, there's a lot of love for what it's worth too, but there's a lot of love for Closure. I got a lot of Instagram on that song. They're like, this is great, so
I might lean into that one a little bit more.
you might lean into it, man. I mean, that one's my heart, so it ain't gonna get any more real than that one. So
Love it, man. And thank you so much again for the time. It was an honor to get to talk to you.
looking forward to it, man. Let's try to make it happen again. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Scott. See ya.
Take care, brother.
Bye
Happy
bye.
4th.
Happy 4th to you too, man. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye.